welcome back to another fun-filled episode of Dutch Guy's Garage. In this episode, we're diving more into our Gen 3 Hemi swap Dodge Aspen build.
Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. Life instead of everything you know that you can get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret.
What do you say we get thrown out of an Applebee's?
So, for those of you that were following along the first episode, we bought a whole bunch of chargers. That is not a charger. Hemis. There's a Hemi there. There's a Hemi over there. Well, Hemis. There's more Hemis outside. And, there's a Hemi in there, but that one's got to stay in there. But anyway, we have this buried under junk. 77 Dodge Aspen Sport Coupe Luxury. Well, we are going to be Gen 3 swapping that car because it hasn't run in since 1992. So, yeah, long time. But at any rate, so we have that guy out of a 2009 Dodge Charger, so pre-Eagle. So that motor, we found a bunch of glass on top of the pistons because the car had been in an accident and it sucked some glass in the intake. So we had to disassemble motor. It did have a Jasper sticker we found on it, and it's got a new head. So I'm guessing that the previous motor, they may have dropped a valve seat. So that's interesting. So car had 43,000 miles on it. So that motor looks pretty fresh inside. We're actually popping the heads back on right now. So let's go do that. Okay, so the main thing, because a lot of people have said that not everyone's the most specific when they're doing these, and I had got a little book on Gen 3s that I've been reading, and the thing I found the most interesting was the torque spec sequence on the head. And I did believe it, so I did more research, and everybody has the same conclusion that they're right on it. So you have your, what are they, the maybe the M8 bolts, which are these 5 little guys. Those get torqued to 15 and then to 25. Before the M12 bolts, those get torqued from 20, 40, and then they want you to do a 90-degree turn. I've never heard of a 90-degree turn being is it a 90-degree turn on a half-inch ratchet, or half-inch torque wrench? A 2-foot torque wrench? A 1-foot torque wrench? I don't know, but apparently a 90-degree turn, but never heard that offered as a torque spec, so that's a new one for me. But it might be quite common. I don't work on a lot of new stuff, so it might be the dinosaur in me just showing my age. So yeah, I thought that was quite interesting. So we're going to finish getting all the rockers bolted down on this engine because we got all the glass out of it, and get the valve covers back on, or valve cover I should say. The one valve cover found has a small crack in it, so I guess we're gonna have to order some aftermarket valve covers. Those should be cheap. I'm gonna guess they're cheap. Probably wrong on that assumption. Yeah, gotta torque these down to 18 foot-pounds once we get everything happy. It's got multiple different sizes of push rods, which is interesting, just different. Spark plugs in it looked new-ish, not newer, but new-ish. So yeah, we'll get that done, and then we got to pull that motor off the cherry picker, and that transmission's got to come off, and then get that set to the side. This guy's coming off the engine stand, and we're going to see how the Schumacher motor mounts actually fit for an F-body. And that is the Schumacher It'd be the V8 K-frame, and they cover like the whole entire alphabet with their swap for this, which I'm not holding out. I'm not holding my breath on, because Schumacher motor mounts, especially for F-bodies, in my opinion, their fitment is garbage. There's not enough R&D apparently done on them to actually have good fitment, and so I'm not holding my breath on these. I'm probably going to end up cutting them. I already had to grind the block in one spot, which I understand, casting flaws and all that stuff, but yeah, I'm not holding my breath. Maybe I'm just ornery, but somebody should make a better product than what Schumacher makes. So, onward. All right, we are reassembled that way we can get close to being mocking up everything. But so, because this is a pre-Eagle oil pan or pre-Eagle motor, you have your standard mid-sump pan. Well, we did find out, because this is a pre-Eagle, so I guess the pre-Eagle and the Eagle motors, if you have mid-sump pan, it must be that oil pickup comes in differently on the Eagle motors, because there's an entirely different part number. So there's only one company left that still makes a pre-Eagle mid-sump motor, or pre-Eagle motor with a mid-sump pickup, which is Mildoin, which is the 18331 part number, and as you can see, it says 2008 and earlier. So $75 tube. So I also ordered the 40750 oil pan gasket, not thinking that, you know, the windage tray is the oil pan gasket, because, you know, tired ordering parts, frustrated because $75 for a pickup, and so I probably won't even use those. So that's good. That's kind of wasted money, but yeah. So comes with the O-ring. Still haven't figured out why Hemis only have one bolt holding them in and like no tab, but it does have a bolt hole over here, so that's got attached to a main cap or something. So we'll figure that out. So onward. So we messed up a little bit. So what we have so pickups installed, and if you look in this plane, it's like right in line, like squared up with the edge of where our oil pan would be. So this tells me that after sticking our oil pan on there, it don't clear, which is unfortunate. But the question there's B. So yeah, Roku remote. They don't make the pickup that matches the Summit, Jegs, Speedway. That's what that oil pan is. It's the cheaper pan. That's supposed to do all Hemis. Well, they don't make the pickup that goes with that one anymore at all. So we either have to order the Mildoin oil pan, which I'm guessing is wider at the bottom of the pan, which might hurt us, or we have to notch this one and tweak her back and then TIG weld her up, which I can do. But the question therein lies, is that oil pan going to work at all? Because we don't know that yet. We don't know. This is kind of like uncharted territories, because there's not very many F-body Hemi swaps, and most of them have cut their cradle and all that stuff, and I want to try and do it without cutting the K-frame to try and preserve originality, I guess. But we don't know what we don't know. So for now, I'm going to take the pickup back off. We're going to put our pan on loosely and see if it's all going to clear, or if the Mildoin one is going to be the way to go. So I guess we'll go backwards. Alright, update. that guy is not going to work. So sometimes you'll have that. So I got to crawl in the car and take the booster out, disconnect the pedal, not try and lose the tiny little clip that's unobtainium, and luckily there's no dash in the car, but just to see if that's going to work and transmission clearances, and then slam a 727 up on it and see if that also fits. But it's looking somewhat promising. Yeah, it's getting close. So I'm going to go do that and be back in a minute. Alright, we're back. So we have we've got our Hemi in. Chains are loose. It's sitting there. Everything's mocked up. So what we've learned thus far, easy spark plug access. But if you look down this side, plenty of header clearance on this side. Oil pan is it's hitting, and it's not all the way dropped down in passenger side mount. Driver's side, pretty much nothing for access, which we were already leaning on that you know, the power steering box from the factory was not going to work. We just further confirmed that, so there's no header clearance, and yeah, so that guy's going to have to go. We are going to order the Borgeston replacement, and we are going to have a couple manual steering boxes. We're going to see what that does. This car doesn't need manual or power steering, so I got to figure out mathage in not running the power steering pump and figure out what belt we need without AC and everything. So, because this car doesn't need AC. So, but with the oil pan hitting, I'm not the biggest fan of the Schumacher mounts. You actually get to a certain point in the instructions, and it says right here, you can only guarantee engine position and ease of installation. We offer no other support. That sounds about right for Chris from Schumacher. So, gotta remember, if your stuff does, or if his stuff bolts on your motor and doesn't fit on your car's messed up. There's nothing wrong with their product. So, words from his mouth. So, not the most friendliest guy to intercept. So, we are going to take the Schumacher stuff out, and we are going to put these Blackheart ones in, which you can order right off the Holly website, which, looking at them, is going to give us a lot more room, and we won't have to run a remote oil filter with these. So, which I'm kind of more of a fan of. Schumacher ones, there's zero clearance. It covers, you have to run a narrow oil filter block off plate in the stock location. These ones, we can run a 90-degree adapter. So, we're going to bolt these in. I got them milled on pan. We're going to try that out. One thing I did notice is, so this is our Jags / Speedway, whatever you want to call it, pickup tube for their oil pan, which is the cheaper of the Hemi swap oil pans. This is the milled on pickup, and they're virtually the same this way, that way. The only thing I did notice is when you line these side by side is this guy's clocked different. So I need to see if that's a factory defect, if that guy is clocked wrong, or it's supposed to be the same as this one, or if it's supposed to be clocked like that. Then bolting it on the other Hemi we got in the shop, it kicks it off like a lot, like around there, and I don't know why you would ever want to have that, because it's the milled on pan measured the same. So I'm guessing that's clocked wrong, which is unfortunate, but we own a TIG welder, and it is what it is. So we're going to pull that motor back out. We're going to swap these mounts, keep that oil pan, drop the motor back in, see how everything fits, see if we need to, I'm hoping not to cut the K-frame, but don't think we're going to avoid it. And then take it back out, swap the milled on pan on there, and see how that fits. We also have the Holly pan So we're going to try that too, because why not? Try everything. They're not much of a cost difference, except the Jeg Summit Speedway one is actually like $100 cheaper oil pan once you do everything. So we have our PRW flex plate. We also have a Hayes flex plate. The PRW flex plate is like $62. The Hayes flex plate, which looks exactly the same except it's got a gray finish, is $180 depending on where you buy it, but it's right around that price, so there's no difference between these two. The SFI, that's all the same, 29.1. So yeah, we're doing some experimenting. So this one's relatively hard to find unless you search deep into Jags. The Hayes one immediately pops up across all websites, and I just haven't figured out why yet. This one took some research, but you save $100. Save $100 and you get the same thing. So kind of like the oil pan kit, you save $150 and you get the same pickup tube. And I mean, you don't have the baffling necessarily that you would with the Mildon, but if you're going for a bare bones swap, I think this guy is going to actually work great. So, and then these guys they were $155, and I think they're right around $200 regular price because we bought these around Christmas. And then the Schumacher ones are like $280, so you could save $180 between those two, right around there. So, and the Schumacher ones, these came next day because of where we're located in the country. I'm sure if you're closer to Schumacher, they come quicker, but he's got to ship across the country. So yeah, that's it was like over probably about a week for these to come in. So, which I don't know or not these ones, but the Schumacher ones. So maybe he had to make them. I'm not sure, but yeah, forward progress. So we're gonna get the motor back out and switch things. So see you in a minute. So, like promised, we're comparing and contrasting everything we buy. So we have our Schumacher mounts, we have our Blackheart mounts. So from top bolt to center of bushing on this guy is about 3.5. From that guy to that guy is about 3 3/4. I measured this before, but so I know it in my head. So it's more. I did it more exact than that, but so this is 3 3/4. This is 3.5. That's perspective on that mount, and that's perspective on that mount. So, and this guy, again, we're at 3.5, and this guy, a little bit harder to measure. He's more in the 4-inch range. So, that one is a little bit more difficult. So, yeah, about the 4-inch range. So there is 1/4 inch difference from this mount to that mount. But looking in placement of things, this one is going to cover our oil filter, and this guy is not. So there's benefits to both, but this is going to require at least a $150 to $150 plus remote oil filter. This guy's just going to require a $75 to $100 90-degree adapter. So there's pros and cons of both, but that's what we're dealing with. So let's go ahead and get these mounts on that motor, and we'll go from there. So we are back. Excuse the loud furnace, but we have our Holley Blackhearts on, and as you can see, monumental amounts of oil pan clearance. Not much has changed there. One thing I did notice was we have a lot more transmission room using the Blackhearts. So we're going to get our transmission on. We have our flex plate on, and just further confirm everything. But everything is looking way better comparing these Blackhearts to the Schumachers. So, yeah. We'll get this guy picked back up, transmission on, and swing her back in. So, I'm liking these a lot more. I think the Schumachers are just going to get thrown on the shelf, or, you know, the neighbor makes knives, so maybe he can use it to grind the paint off and make knives out of. Might be the only use, but this one also allows a 90-degree oil filter adapter instead of having a remote oil filter. There's way more clearance on these. So, yeah, you know, it is what it is. But the Blackhearts they're winning. They're winning at this point. So that's what we come to find with, you know, Schumacher motor mounts is they don't work on F bodies. There's not enough R&D in there, and the guy that owns Schumacher, unfortunately, doesn't care. So, gotta remember, if their mounts don't fit your car's messed up. So, yeah, we'll be back in a minute. Alright, so what we found thus far is the Blackheart mounts have put our motor in a better position. They have made transmission clearance much better and the oil pan clearance much better. But we bolted our 727 up, and it actually pushed our factory mount off of the factory K member, or the cross member. So in that aspect, we are going to have a different drive shaft made, and we are going to have to make a custom transmission cross member. So it's not off by far, but far enough where you'd have those additional expenses. So we are going to take a pause for a moment. We did order some TTI engine mounts because we said we would try everything. So we're going to try everything. So yeah, that's where we're leaving off on this episode, and yeah, we'll keep progressing forward and keep trying everything on the market and see what's going to work best for the Mopar F body. So see you guys in the next episode. As always, it's Dutch Guy's Garage. They don't move until you do.